address the elephant in the room. I'm the hottest person in the world.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
I don't need your business.
Yeah. Weird.
I don't need your business.
I'm a narcissist.
I don't need your business.
And everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
I don't need your business.
The actor that y'all hired to play? So let me see if I got this straight. Walt Disney and Mark Webb hired Rachel Zegler and her talent, her positions, her politics. Walt Disney and Mark Webb also hired Gal Gadot, her positions, her talent, her politics. Disney decided to not hire the right people to play the Seven Dwarfs. Disney decided to make the storyline about decentering men and having being Snow White be independent, and which is in line with a lot of the remakes of the Disney movies in the 21st century with Ariel and The Belle and the Beast. When Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot comes out and shows her political opinions, Walt Disney, including Mark Webb, and I think Mark Webb's son, is blaming all of this on Rachel Zegler, even though y'all hired Rachel Zegler and y'all knew her political opinions, and y'all hired Gal Gadot and y'all knew her political opinions. If they focused on marketing the movie and the characters and the stories in Snow White on social media, I wouldn't think it would have been this serious. Instead of pinpointing and blaming all of this on Rachel Zegler, the actor that y'all hired to play, y'all weird. And yes, would blame a lot of this on racism.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So once again, we got to talk about what seems to be officially a get woke, go broke, or go woke, go broke story involving Disney's Snow White. Okay, because this movie, which I'm not even sure if I can call Snow White, right? I'm calling it Woke White, okay? Or Snow Woke, or I'm not entirely sure what people call it, right? I'm just saying it's not Snow White. This movie is expected to lose over $150 million for Disney because it is doing miserably at the box office. And hey, this day was coming, okay? It has been a long time in the making. I think everybody kind of knew that this movie was going to bomb, and now we're getting some numbers in regards to how much of a disaster this actually is. It is such a disaster that Disney is actually panicking, okay? They're changing course when it comes to future movies that they're planning on making because this movie did so bad, right? So I want to talk about it because, again, this movie is being roasted by literally everybody, including Joe Rogan, who has called for a Doge investigation into how this movie flopped so bad.
The script was screwed from the start.
How much did this cost? They should get Doge looking at this movie. They spent $250 million making that movie. But imagine you spend $250 million and you get some young girl and you don't kind of talk to her about like, hey, you know, don't get political. You're young. And I know you have opinions about things, but should be just about the movie.
Well,
let's just
to defend Big Head Girl, let me tell you something. The message of the movie is to be that bitch. That's the message that they wrote a script that's telling girls, I don't need nobody tells me I'm a 20-year-old girl, so obviously I should run my mouth all the time. That's the theme of the new Snow White.
No, really?
Yes. Now
it's not the same story?
No. So now they've put it all on her. Now they've failed. Here's what happened. She made the cardinal error of saying free Palestine on Twitter. So she could say all that men are bad and it's this and that, but once you do that, now they've put the entire weight of the failure upon her, when really it's like making Jimmy Fallon apologize for doing a Chris Rock impression when Lauren and a team of lawyers and consultants decided if it was okay, the amount of brown they put on him to simulate Chris Rock.
Right.
You think Jimmy Fallon made that call? But he's got to sit there and apologize to a white... Robin DiAngelo comes on. I'm not watching this. Am I dreaming? And he's like, he's clearly drunk.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? The finger pointing has begun, okay? We're going to talk about it, but first I want to read about just how bad this movie is currently doing, okay? Because it might not even make $100 million, right? This is pretty embarrassing. Disney's Snow White took in just 1.5 million on Friday in the US, dropping 60% from its daily total 1 week ago. The movie's now in 4th place at the domestic box office and currently sits at 72 million, putting it in serious danger of failing to hit the $100 million milestone in North America. This would be a disastrous result for a film with a reported production budget of $250 million. Yeah, so again, that's at the low end of what they're going to spend. Right. So realistically, once things are all said and done, they're going to spend probably about $350-400 million total on this movie. And it's not even going to make $100 million domestically, right? Domestically, just in the United States of America, the largest market, again, not going to make $100 million. Yeah, it's bad. That's really, really, really bad, right? Real bad. Snow White received mixed negative reviews from critics. It's now dropped to 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, but audiences did seem to be getting a little more out of it for the most part. That said, CinemaScore recently revealed that the movie has earned a B+ grade, which isn't terrible by any means, but is reportedly the lowest ever CinemaScore for any live action Disney remake. The studio's most recent offering, Mufasa: The Lion King, was given an A-. Last week, Variety published what many considered to be a hit piece on star Rachel Zegler, and the article definitely suggested that the studio is at least partially laying the blame for Snow White's box office woes at the young actress's feet. Jonah Platt, son of Mark Platt, took to Instagram to defend his father in the wake of Variety's report that noted Platt, apparently at Disney's behest, flew to New York City in August to ask Zegler to remove a Free Palestine comment that she made on X while she was thanking Disney fans for watching the Snow White trailer. A commenter called Platt's father creepy as hell and said the producer's efforts to control Zegler's social media posts were uncalled for. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? If you're about to come out with a movie, you probably should not be engaged in divisive politics, right? I'm just saying, okay? If you're trying to get people to watch your movie that already had a lot of controversy because Disney decided to, once again, race swap a white character for woke virtue signaling points, you might want to just keep your mouth shut, right? You might want to stay out of politics, okay? I'm just saying. Quote, "You really want to do this?" Platt responded in a since deleted post. "Yeah, my dad, the producer of enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and to do publicity for." He continued, "This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encourage." Yeah, so I mean, hey, I think that this guy has a point, right, in the sense that yes, you should have kept her politics out of it, but more so than anything, I don't think that's the reason why this movie flopped, right? I don't think her politics is the reason why. I think that the fact is that she's just not a very likable person, and she made it clear that this movie was not going to be Snow White.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Why were you crying?
Oh my gosh, I saw the well, we didn't even see, but I saw the logo and I went, that's my name, Snow White's up there, and I cried my eyes out.
What was it like seeing yourself for the first time in full Snow White drag?
I love that description. It's perfect. And I saw myself on screen and I just wanted to throw up. I was so happy about it. not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in. I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true,
it's
yeah.
an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets a lot of people along the way that make the journey really incredible.
Yeah, so I personally think that this is not only Rachel Zegler's fault, but also Disney's fault, because they decided to hire her in the first place. Now, why did they decide to hire her? Well, it's because Disney wanted to be woke, right? They thought it would be a good idea to race swap yet again another white Disney character, and it backfired. It backfired. People said enough is enough, okay? We don't want your woke garbage pushed down our throats, right? Because that's what they were trying to do with this movie, okay? That's what they were trying to do. When they could have just played it safe and hired some white actress, right? Some white actress that's white as snow, right? To make it at least, you know, somewhat real and true to the cartoon, right? Make it real, stick to the story, just create the live action of the remake. They could have, at the very least, broke even, right? I mean, worst case scenario, you break even, okay? If, you know, you hire somebody that, I don't know who would play that role. Brett Cooper, right? I don't know. I think that the Daily Wire tried to do a Snow White thing. I'm just saying, right? Brett Cooper would have been better than Rachel Zegler. I'm just saying, if you would have had somebody like that, okay, again, at the very least, you would have broke even. You probably would have made some money, right? And likely they would have made a lot of money, okay? But see, again, they wanted to take that extra risk, right? They wanted to take the risk of trying to, quote unquote, expand the market, right? By saying, all right, well, we're going to race swap her. Maybe the blacks will show up. Maybe the Latinos will show up. And for all the white people that don't like race swapping, maybe that will make up for them not watching the movie. But again, what they failed to account for is that the individual that they hired was a liability, okay? Because just like the theme of this movie, okay, the actress is an outspoken feminist, right? Outspoken feminist. Do what I want, say what I want, right? Girl power type stuff, and it backfired. It backfired in so many ways, okay? So it's bombing so badly at the box office that Disney put another live action Princess remake on ice. Disney is hitting the pause button on its planned live action remake of the 2010 animated hit Tangled following the disastrous box office performance of Snow White, according to multiple reports published Thursday. The Hollywood Reporter was the first to break the news. Entertainment Weekly and Deadline later confirmed the story. According to Deadline, the movie was officially in pre-production and meetings with potential stars were already underway when Disney pulled the plug. The outlet also reported that Snow White, tanking at the box office, the $270 million movie has grossed $69 million domestically and $145 million worldwide, led the House of Mouse to reevaluate plans for other planned live action adaptations, barring on its animated IP library. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Disney is pausing this Rapunzel remake because they were thinking about race swapping, right? Rapunzel is white, okay? And they probably were thinking about doing the same thing that they did with the Woke Little Mermaid and Woke White. And they said, you know what? This box office for Snow White is so bad that we might want to think twice, right? We might want to think twice before race swapping this character because that ultimately is going to lead to a disaster, right? We need to make sure that we are properly vetting actresses that are not going to run a negative PR campaign for the movie, right? So again, you know, Disney, hopefully they're learning their lesson. I don't know, but regardless, fans are celebrating, okay? Some fans are celebrating the downfall of woke Snow White.
I'm glad Snow White bombed at the box office because that's the only way that Disney is going to learn their lesson. For context, I think the budget for the movie was like $270 million or something like that. I think internationally, the movie is at like 87 million. Internationally. And honestly, no one from Disney can act surprised as to why the movie bombed. Like, everybody on TikTok was talking about how much they wanted Rachel to be recasted. And I'm not saying Rachel is not a talented young lady, but honestly, her interviews are really terrible. She's very unlikable. Like, I don't know, it's just something about her and her energy into this specific project with Snow White was just not aligning with me at all. And I'm like a huge Disney fan. And I think also people not showing up for Snow White is showing Disney that they need to also stop changing freaking plot lines. Like, if you want to create a new story, but stop changing classic stories. It's so freaking annoying.
Snow White doing bad is exactly what Disney needed. Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of discourse about it, about how no one likes that actor, but really, y'all just don't like the actor because y'all just want to complain that she doesn't look like Snow White, but whatever. My main issue is that, like, if they were just going to change the whole story of Snow White and, like, basically make her this strong, independent woman that doesn't need a man and she's so hard body and all that, they could have just made a new princess. They could have just made a new movie. I'm sick of these Disney princesses not being like cute little soft girls. Like, they all just want to be strong, independent women. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with, you know, Aurora and all of them finding themselves a man and living happily ever after. There's nothing wrong with those stories. Those stories are cute. They're little princess stories for a reason. Like, they could have just made a whole new movie if they were just gonna completely change the character of Snow White. My issue was never the fact that the actor wasn't white, because, like, I guess that's a lot of, like, these people's issue is that she doesn't look like Snow White. It's really, Snow White's race has nothing to do with her story. And people keep saying, like, well, her name is Snow White. Nobody care. Don't nobody care. Her story has nothing to do with her race, just like Ariel's story has nothing to do with her race. And then people's, like, main argument be like, oh, well, what if we made Tiana white? What if we made Pocahontas white? If Pocahontas was white, she would literally not be Pocahontas. Pocahontas is a real person who was Native American. And Tiana being white in the 1920s would defeat the entire purpose of the movie because she's black in the 1920s.
Wow. So apparently, when it comes to Pocahontas, her being Indian, right, is very central to the role and the character of the person. So no, you can't race swap out blacks or Indians or anybody like that for whites. No, you can't do that. But when it comes to Snow White, again, who's literally named after her skin color being so white, right? That's the whole point of why she's called Snow White. Her skin is as white as snow. Apparently it's okay to race swap that, right? It's okay to swap out a white person. Again, these people will jump through mental gymnastics in order to justify hypocrisy, right? And it's pretty fascinating stuff. But regardless, maybe Disney has learned their lesson, maybe not. But it seems like people are being blamed, right? Finger pointing is happening, and you're having panic because they are stopping production on future live action remakes to evaluate whether or not they want to go down the woke path once again. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.